Good morning, everybody. Welcome. My name is Marty Mascari. I am with I'm a contractor with the North Central Texas Area Agency on Aging and the North Central Texas Aging and Disability Resource Center, or ADRC. Both of these are under the umbrella of the North Central Texas Council of Governments. Welcome. We're blessed once again to have our partners at the North Texas Fair Housing Center, notably Dewey Marshall, here to talk about advocating for affordable housing, what goes into the advocacy and how a law gets put on the books in Texas, but and that whole process and how you guys can have effect on that. So before we get started, we're going to talk. I want to go over the CEU information. So, Dewey, whenever you're ready, if you'd share that information, share your screen, and we'll talk about the CEUs. Perfect. If we could advance one slide, there you go. For those of you that are joining us today for continuing education credits, CEUs, or for a certificate of attendance, we are set up to provide CEUs for licensed social workers and licensed professional counselors in the state of Texas. If you have a different license in Texas, or you have a license outside of Texas, you're more than welcome to go through the process and get a certificate and present that to the jurisdiction that oversees your licensing. But just note that there's no guarantee that they're going to take that. I've had people secondhand tell me that they have been able to use those, but I just want to make sure you understand that the two that we're set up with are the social workers and the LPCs. You can also get a certificate of attendance if you would like. The guidelines for both of them are the same. For attending today's webinar, it's good for 1.5 hours of CEU credits. You must complete the entire webinar live in order to be eligible. You must also complete the Google evaluation survey. It should pop up as you close out of the webinar today. I realize that some of you have pop-up blockers. It gives you the option to go to it as you log out. I finally did that myself so I could see how it works. Sorry, I've always been on this end of it, but it should give you the option to go there as you close out of Zoom today. But if not, I always email it out in a follow-up email that will go out after today's webinar. Usually it will go out either today or tomorrow. I've got two of them I've got to do for yesterday, so it may be tomorrow, but it will go out to you, and that will have the evaluation survey link in it, as well as the link to Dewey's slides for today. And just so you know, if you did not find the slides, they should have been in a link for them should have been in the email with the login information today. I will put that link to the slides in the chat as we get going this morning. The Google evaluation survey will be available to you for 1 week from today, to the 29th. We are asking everybody to fill out the Google survey. It helps us to report back on the goals and objectives we set forth when we applied for the funding to put on these webinars. Once you do that, please give me about 3 weeks after that the 29th deadline to get those certificates out to you. Sometimes they're quicker, but sometimes I'm a one-man operation, and sometimes things come up, and usually I can get them out by that time. I know there's times when I'm even later than that, but once again, I'm a one-man operation. I can't delegate it to anybody else, so some things come up. But okay, I'm going to turn it over to Dewey Marshall this morning to talk to us about advocacy and how a law is made and affordable housing.
Great, thanks, Marty. Thanks for having me. Like Marty said, my name is Dewey Marshall. I'm with the North Texas Fair Housing Center. We advocate against housing discrimination in the North Texas area. This legislative session in Texas, we are also doing a lot in the state leg to advocate for affordable housing and for tenant rights. So this presentation is specific to Austin and the Texas state politics and how to advocate. I saw somebody from Florida. I also know people in Florida that do state level advocacy, and I'd be happy to plug you in as well if you reach out to me after the presentation. But for now, this is focused specifically in Austin. It can get sometimes a little bit confusing because sometimes people think that I'm talking about the House of Representatives or the Senate in DC, but I'm not. This is the state level, and a lot of affordable housing issues happen on the state level. So starting off, it's important to know what the state legislature is. It's the governing body of the state of Texas, and it's split up into two chambers, just like the federal government in DC. The Texas House of Representatives has 150 representatives. That's 150 districts across Texas that elected their House of Representative. On the other side of the Capitol is the Senate that has 31 legislators. So there are 31 Senate districts across Texas. It's important to know that in the House of Representatives, the Speaker of the House is the leader of the House. He sets the agenda for the day out of calendars committee, and he is really like vital in deciding what the agenda is. On the Senate side, the Lieutenant Governor is the head of the Senate, and then he chooses what bills go to which committees. He chooses what the agenda is for the day. And in Texas, because we're such a small state and easy to govern, we only meet every 2 years. Obviously, that's a joke. We are a large state and it's really difficult to govern. So it's hard to actually make all of the policy that we need in only 5 months every 2 years. But that's happening right now. So right now is critical to ask for funding for affordable housing and for tenant rights. This presentation focuses on affordable housing, but I'm also doing a lot of tenant rights stuff in Austin. It's important to first, oops, sorry, I went too far. Sorry, I made this on Google Slides and I'm doing it on PowerPoint. So let's see. It's important to first know how a bill becomes a law. There we go. The first thing that happens for a bill to become a law is that somebody has an idea about what a law should be, and they usually go to their House representative or state senator. And when that happens, they can submit either a House bill or a Senate bill. That's HB or SB, and they submit it to the clerk, and then the bill is assigned to a committee during session. So bills can be filed to the clerk before session even starts, and they can no longer be filed. We already passed that deadline. So there's a certain window that they can be filed. After they're filed, they're assigned to a committee. Now in the House, that is done automatically through the Legislative Council, and it's done not in a politicized way. It's done based on what the bill is addressing. In the Senate, the Lieutenant Governor's office assigns a bill to the committee. So the Lieutenant Governor can assign a bill to what's called a kill committee. Now the Lieutenant Governor also decides who sits on what committee. And so that means that he has a lot of power. So if he wants to kill a bill, he sets up a committee that has unfriendly members on it, unfriendly senators, and then he sends the bill to that committee to kill the bill. That's called a kill committee, and that only happens in the Senate. It's important because the committee is the very first step in the process of a bill becoming law, and most bills die in committee. There are thousands of bills that are filed every single state legislative session, and only a handful of them actually become law. Most of them are left pending or die in committee and are never even heard. They never had a hearing. But that's the next step. So if a bill is assigned to a committee, the next step is for the bill to be heard in a committee, which is where the committee allows for public testimony on the bill. So they can hear from the author of the bill, from experts on the bill, and then from anybody that goes down to Austin and wants to sign up to testify on a bill. It's really important to testify on bills that are important to you in Austin, because that's kind of like the last chance of that bill being passed through the committee. After that happens, in a separate meeting, the committee then votes on the bill. So it's usually about a week later. Sometimes it's only a few days later, but a bill is first heard in the committee and then it's voted on. In regular session, it's voted on in a different meeting, in the next meeting that the committee meets. They vote whether or not to pass it or whether or not to add in a committee substitute, which is an amendment to the bill. They can do that and then pass the committee substitute version of the bill. So we go from a bill being introduced, then it's heard in the committee, then it's voted on in the committee, and then after that, it goes to the floor. The floor is either the House or the Senate chambers. And there, everybody, the entire state of Texas representatives, the House reps and the senators, get to vote on the bill. They can also add amendments at this point as well. They can add friendly amendments or amendments that the author does not like. And the bill gets either passed from the House or the Senate, or it dies in the House and the Senate. If it gets passed through a chamber, so let's say it's a House bill, it goes through committee, it gets heard, it gets voted on, and then it gets sent to the House floor, and it gets approved on the House floor, it gets voted on and passed on the House floor. Then it goes to the Senate committee on the other side of the Capitol. And in the Senate committee, it goes through the same process. It goes through a committee, it gets heard, it gets voted on, then it goes to the Senate floor. And at the Senate floor, it can also get voted on, or it can die. And if it gets voted on, if it passes, then it goes to what's called the conference committee, so that the Senate and the House versions of the bill are essentially reconciled in a mediation process. And once both the House leadership and the Senate leadership agree on what the bill should be, then it goes to the governor's desk. And the governor from there has the opportunity to sign it into law, and then it becomes law effective September 1st, or a date that it says specifically in the bill, or the governor vetoes it and the bill dies. So at any point, the bill can die. It's very difficult to pass a law. And that's actually intentional in Texas and across the entire country as well. The Senate is notorious. Senates are notorious for being difficult to pass bills through, and they are notorious for killing bills. So it is very, very difficult to get a bill passed through the entire process. For today, we are going to focus on the committee process. So that's after a bill is introduced to the clerk, it's introduced into a committee, and then it's heard by a committee. That's because there are appropriations funds happening or funding happening that are being debated this week right now on the ARPA funds, which is federal dollars that were passed as COVID relief back in 2020. There's another round that's the state of Texas has that's about $40 billion. This is not the surplus in the budget that we all know about. This is actually extra federal money, ARPA money, that is coming down through the pipeline that we have the ability to allocate to different buckets. They're highly restricted funds, so they can't go to everything. But one of the things that it can go to is affordable housing and rent relief. So there's a bill called SB 30 that is a appropriations bill that essentially allocates where that money is going to go to. SB 30. Let me go to the next slide. SB 30 is the name of the bill. It's a Senate bill, and it's already passed through the Senate. It's in the House committee right now, and it's in the Appropriations Committee. It's a supplemental appropriations bill, which means that it is allocating the federal dollars to different areas that the state can fund. Even though advocates for affordable housing actually went to the Capitol and met with every single member of the Appropriations Committee, and in the House, the committee members, we said we want rent relief, we want affordable housing, and we want down payment assistance. None of those three made it into the bill, which means that when we had a hearing on it earlier this week, we actually, a lot of, I did not, but a lot of other advocates went to Austin and testified on the bill as it was being heard in committee. Now, you can actually look at committees by going to capital.texas.gov. I'm going to, I don't know if I can click on this here and it'll take me there. Let's see. Here we go. And this is called TLO, or Texas Legislator Online. This is where you can actually track bills and find who sits on what committee. You can find what bills are where. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the committees and how to see who is on the Appropriations Committee, which is really important right now if you follow the money. I'm going to go to the Texas House, and then I'm going to drop down to committees. I'm going to click that. And then from there, I can see who's on the Appropriations Committee. It has several subcommittees on here, but we're not worried about that because it's being heard on the General Committee right now. So if I click this right here, I can see all of these representatives. These are House representatives that sit on the Appropriations Committee. My own House rep, I live in Denton, and my own House representative is Lynn Stuckey. I'll show you how to look up your own House rep later, but now when this is happening, I'm calling Stuckey's office every single day and asking for more funds from ARPA to go to affordable housing and rent relief. Because it's really powerful to hear from their own constituents about what the problem is. And it's really, really, really important to be doing this. So this is a rather large committee. This has a lot of members on it, but your own House rep might be on this committee. And if they are, it's really important that you today actually call in their office. But I'll get to that later in the presentation. So that's how you get to where the committees are. You go to the House side on the left-hand side, go to committees, go to appropriations, and from there we can get to this page where we can see all the committee members. Thanks for your patience while this is clicking in between the slides. So follow the money. The Appropriations Committee is key. The appropriations just means funding. And Appropriations Committee is the committee that's in charge of debate from the House side. On the Senate side, it's the Finance Committee, but on the House side, it's the Appropriations Committee. So now is critical for these ARPA funds because it's being heard in committee right now. This is the copied from the one pager. This will be emailed out to you. But this is the asks that the coalition of people that went to Affordable Housing Day 2 weeks ago asked for. This is made up of different developers and advocates across the state for affordable housing. It's asking for $650 million in rent relief, $650 million in the affordable housing development, and $50 million for down payment assistance. Now, it seems like a lot of money, but it's only about a third of what the total ARPA funds is, and that's free money for the state. It's free money that's coming in from the federal government that can be allocated for this specifically and just is not being allocated. So that's important to know too, that this is what the ask has been. In fact, these are just the humble asks. We actually asked for much larger than that, $750 million for rent relief, affordable housing, and $100 million for down payment assistance. So none of that actually made it into the bill, and we are quite upset about that. In fact, we have testimony against the bill. So if I were to click this link, it would bring me up to this tab right here, which I already loaded. But this bill was already heard in committee this Monday morning, so like 2 days ago. And in Austin, a partner organization called Texas Housers went and commented and testified on the bill while it was in committee. And I have the testimony pulled up right here, so we can watch it and hear what a really good testimony sounds like, and what the actual ask for affordable housing has been. I loaded this earlier, but I'll have to do it again. Thanks for your patience on this.
$50 million.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me here today. My name is Ben Martin. I am the research director for Texas Housers. I am opposed to the bill as written. Texas renters are in crisis, struggling extraordinarily to find housing that is affordable to them. American Rescue Plan funds were explicitly intended to be used for exactly these types of programs, but we see no funding to help keep renters stably housed. Recent events illustrate the plight of Texas renters. Last week, TDHCA's Texas Rent Relief Program reopened their application portal for a planned 2 weeks. Instead, due to extraordinary need, the portal closed after only 48 hours. They were already oversubscribed. Renters in Texas, your constituents, are in a tailspin. There's only one unit affordable and available for every 4 extremely low-income Texas families that need one. 1 in 5 Texas renters spends more than 50% of their income on housing. That number is higher than ever before, and these residents are paying more towards housing than every other expense that they have combined. When renters struggle to find housing that is affordable to them, it leads to evictions, housing instability, and often homelessness. There were at least 270,000 evictions filed in the state of Texas in 2022, the highest annual number ever recorded. Relief for struggling renters is not in opposition to relief for homeowners and property owners. We have avoided seeking support funding for renters through the budget surplus. Instead, we met with every single Appropriations Committee member's office to propose the use of ARPA funds for renter relief. We are dismayed that neither version of the supplemental appropriations bill proposes a single dollar in relief to the 38% of Texas households who are renters. SB 30 proposes over $200 million in ARPA funds for the purchase of new vehicles for state departments, but $0 for the $4.5 million renter households in Texas that those state employees serve. It proposes over $30 million for the construction of a criminal justice training facility, but $0 towards rental housing, which might lower the need for such a facility in the first place. With only 2 exceptions on the committee, at least 1 in 5 of each of your constituents is a renter. 14 of you on the committee have districts that are over 1/3 renters. So we respectfully ask, where is the funding for struggling renters that are your constituents? I'm represented by House District 64, Representative Stuckey. Representative Stuckey, if he were here, I would ask, what are you doing for the over 37% of your constituents who are renters? Respectfully, what can you point to that you have supported for direct relief to renters in supplemental appropriations or general appropriations? We have the tools to solve this problem and we must fund them. Replenish TDHCA's extremely successful Texas Rent Relief Program. Fund existing TDHCA affordable rental housing production and rehab programs. Texas's workforce, Texas businesses, and Texas families are depending on the legislature to act in order to ensure the availability of affordable housing throughout the state now and in the future. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, members, any questions?
Yes, I mean, listening to your plight and what's going on, have you come and talked to the Appropriations Committee about funding or what the needs are or what the requirements are to receive the funds?
Are you asking if ARPA funds can be used for these purposes?
I'm asking you as a constituent if you have come and requested any funds from the Appropriations Committee or lined out what the requirements are and why you need them.
Yeah, absolutely. We've attempted to meet with every office on the Appropriations Committee. Most of those meetings occurred about a week ago.
Thank you.
All right, members, yeah, Representative Bryan, did you have? Yeah.
Okay, I'll go ahead and stop there. From there, Representative Bryan asks some softball questions like, "This is free money, right?" And this is something that the state doesn't even have to pay for, and that's true. They don't even have to pay for it. So, Texas Housers and the North Texas Fair Housing Center are both opposed to the bill as it stands right now. We need some amendments in the committee process or committee substitutes that would put in more funding or any funding for affordable housing and for rent relief. So that was the hearing on the SB 30, which is the supplemental appropriations bill. That's when a bill is heard in committee. And unlike other bills, this bill has to pass. So a version of this is going to pass regardless of what happens. So we need to make sure that at least our stake as affordable housing advocates are in there. Here's where you come in. The bill is being voted on tomorrow, which means it's already been heard. Today is the last chance that we have to reach out to committee members to ask for affordable housing funding from in the whole state of Texas from ARPA funds. If we don't do this, I can guarantee you that ARPA funds will not be placed for rent relief, and that we will miss a huge opportunity in Texas to have rent relief and affordable housing development from federal money. So the first thing to do is to know who represents you. That is your state senator and your House rep. And you can do that by going to this link or Googling who represents me, and it will take you to this page, this who represents me page. From there, I put in my address, the city and zip code, and when I click find, it will tell me who my representative is. I'm not going to put in my address right now, but I know that my representative is Lynn Stuckey. So it will come up and it will say House Rep Lynn Stuckey, State Senator Drew Springer. Right now, I'm worried about my House representative. So if I have a representative that is on this committee, to find the committee, I'm going to committees, appropriations, and this is in alphabetical order by last name. So I go down to S for Stuckey, and boom, my representative is on the House Appropriations Committee. So after this presentation, I'm literally going to call the office and say, my name is Dewey from the North Texas Fair Housing Center. I encourage the House Rep Stuckey to vote for affordable housing supplemental funding in the ARPA funds and for rent relief. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm going to make that call today, and I need you to do the same thing. Now, let's say that you do this and your House rep is not listed here in the Appropriations Committee. That's okay. This is such a strong ask that we are asking you to go ahead and, I'm asking you, not Marty, but I am asking you to go ahead and call people from this committee anyway. I'm not going to tell you who to call because I can't lobby, and you don't have to worry about lobbying because there's going to be lobbyists that offer an amendment anyway, so you don't have to even say the bill name. But what you need to do is you need to call these people today, pick one or two, and just call their office and ask for more money, ARPA money, to go to rent relief and affordable housing development. The reason why it's so important is because the vote on the bill is happening tomorrow in committee at 2:00 Central Time. So we are up against the wire. This is a sample script that you could use. Hello, I'm calling to ask if the representative supports Texas tenants with federal ARPA funds. Over a third of Texas renters or over a third of Texans are renters, and we need relief now. Please support relief for renters in SB 30. Thank you. You don't have to say that you support a specific amendment because, again, there's going to be one that's introduced. So if you make this ask, it's really important and it will actually translate to something tangible tomorrow. So that's happening tomorrow at 2:00. You might be wondering how you can actually come in and watch. You can do that by going to capitol.texas.gov. When I go there, I'll show you the quick path. It takes me to Texas Legislature Online. And it has legislative activity. It has view broadcasts. and this is in the House. So I'd view this in the House side of the Capitol. And this is going to have all of today's broadcasts on it. It's not going to have appropriations on it because they're meeting tomorrow, but tomorrow this will have the appropriations right here, and you will be able to view the event at 2 o'clock. So all you have to do is go to capitol.texas.gov, click this, and you can see the vote tomorrow about whether or not the affordable housing is getting voted on tomorrow. Now, one of the last things I'll show you is how to track a bill. It's very important. If you miss the hearing, that's okay. You can always call your own House rep or House senator when it's on the floor. That's really important too. You can know when it's on the floor and get an email alert by simply adding it to a bill list, which is using this interface to sign up for an email when there's an update on the bill. So I'm going to type in SB 30, which is the supplemental appropriations bill. And from here, I can see this is everything that has happened to the bill. It's obviously gone through the Senate, which is these highlighted rows are the record votes. And is left pending in committee as of the 20th, which is Monday. So when it's pending in committee, that means it's waiting for the committee to vote on it. But it's now in appropriations committee, as we see here, it's left pending. Okay, now I really want to follow this, right? So how can I follow this? What you can do is you can go to My TLO and you create a bill list. Now, this is already my bill list. This is 2023 housing. I can add bills to it. Right now, you'll see what I'm tracking, right to cure, eviction record sealing, and local control bills. I'm going to add SB 30. I'm going to say that it's supplemental appropriations, which is just a big way of saying that it's federal money. I can't spell very well, but that's okay. I'm going to add it to my bill list. And then at any point, I can run this bill list and it will, I'm going to save this and it will tell me exactly what's happening. It will also, I can also set this up to where it emails me when anything happens. So I run this and I go down to SB 30 and it says, it's in appropriations, it's out of Senate Finance, and it's left pending in committee. Here it is. That means that it's going to be voted on, and it's going to be voted on tomorrow. Okay, let me see what else I have. So we have a lot of time left. I thought this would take a lot more time to get through. I'm very sorry that I blitzed through it. But this is a time where I need your help in order to get the CEUs for you to ask me questions so I can help you with this. This is my contact information. This is the best way to get a hold of me is at my email. My phone is always ringing off the hook, and so email is by far the best way to get a hold of me. And that's my email right there.
Can you tell us, where did you find that it was, in other words, it showed that it was pending, but where did you find out that, where would someone find out that it's on the calendar for tomorrow to be voted on tomorrow?
Yeah, good question. It's not in the meeting minutes or the meeting agenda posted for tomorrow. The chair of the committee said that it'll be voted on tomorrow at the end of the hearing on Monday. So you would have just had to have been listening in on Monday morning to know that's going to be voted on tomorrow.
Interesting.
So tomorrow's agenda has a different appropriations bill. I think it's HB1. And then it says, and other business as needed. And that other business is going to be SB 30.
Someone asked, how do we get the phone numbers for our representative?
Great question. So if I go to, the committees and I simply click on the name, let's see if this is Gary Gates. Oh, it doesn't take me there. Yeah, so I have to actually look up Gary Gates' phone number. So I Google Gary Gates House Rep. Go ahead.
Would you go through, let's go back to, if we could, and walk through the process of finding my representative. And I'm going to give you my address and put it in there. I mean, I've done it before, but it's 11370 Strittmatter Road, STRITTMATTER, and that's Pilot Point, 76258. Because this will give you the phone number for your representative, right?
No, it won't give you the phone number. You have to look that up. So
okay, so mine is Jared Patterson,
okay.
And so he's my representative. So if you click on that, won't it go to his office information? But it gives the email. I don't know if it gives the.
There we go.
Yeah, and you get your phone number there. And so this is my representative. So that's how you would look up and go and get your representative's phone number, contact information. They have offices. You'll see that they have offices in Austin, and then they have the local offices. At this time of year, what's the best way to contact them in Austin?
Yes, the Austin phone number. So the 512 phone number right here on your Capitol address. That's the best phone number to use.
I want to point out that one of the things that and I've been to Austin, numerous times, and realize right now is we're in the heat of the moment, and this is the important time because it only happens once every 2 years, and like Dewey said, the funds are up now to be voted on. But it's also incredibly powerful for you to go visit with your state representatives' offices outside of legislative session. In other words, during dead time, when things are not crazy like they are right now, and let them know. I mean, it is very, very important right at the moment that you do what you need to do, because these things are happening as we speak. But as far as advocating for affordable housing in general, it is really important to go down and visit with them in their local offices. I have been down and visited with the staffers in Austin, and it's really interesting. You'll find out they don't know a lot maybe about some of these issues, and literally they will ask you a bunch of questions, and I was shocked how little the staffer knew about affordable housing and the need for affordable housing when I went to Austin and met with him, and he drilled me on questions just to educate himself. And so it's really, really, really important. Someone asked, can you briefly talk about one bill in your list, H Bill 51, eviction record sealing? What's its purpose and what's its status?
Sure. That bill, let me go to my list, would seal eviction records for evictions that have been dismissed in county court, so that landlords don't know exactly that eviction record if the eviction was dismissed on behalf of the tenant. That would be really helpful, because right now, even if a tenant gets an eviction dismissed, it stays on the record, and that would change that. So let me try to find my bill list. Let's see. And it's, yeah, by Wu. Yeah, it was HB 511, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So it's been introduced and referred into the Business and Industry Committee. So it hasn't been heard yet in that committee, so we're waiting on a hearing for that. It might die in committee, we don't know, but that's one of the bills that I'm tracking.
Interesting. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Sorry about that. Interesting. Someone asked, Can you show us how to locate the contact information for the committee members? And really, as you said, with that, we just showed you how to get the contact number for your representatives, but we'd have to look up the committee. Is there a place on here where you can just look it up, or is it just looking it up online, just doing a Google search?
Yeah, every House rep and every state senator has their own page that we just looked at for your committee member. The quickest way to do that, to be completely honest, is just to Google Texas, the name. So Texas Lynn Stuckey. So let's say let me go back to the finance committee. Let's say I want to look up Greg Bonin, the chair. The fastest way to do that is just to go Texas Greg Bonin. And then from there, the texas.gov website is the most reliable website. The Texas Tribune is also a reliable source, but this one is the official source. And so from there, I click that, and it'll bring me to the page with the phone number on it. I know that it's not as quick as we would like it to be, but it's reliable.
That's pretty simple. I mean, that's really simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very quick. Let me go back to the chat and see what we have here. Someone says, I watched a disturbing video on PBS recently called A Decent Home, about investors buying up mobile home parks across the nation, raising lot rent to afford. Yeah, I mean, that is happening everywhere. I can tell you, people are buying up apartment complexes. We live in a capitalistic society, and so wherever there's a buck to be made, you're going to see people coming in to take advantage of that. And it is disturbing because it is it's, as we've all seen in the last 5 to 7 years, it's affected our renters in a really difficult way, with rents going up across the board as fast as they have. And I know you guys are joining us from all over Texas, and I know there's some areas that are affected more than others. Us in the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area, I know Austin, in looking at the research, Austin's been affected the worst, and the Dallas-Fort Worth area has been affected, is right behind them. And I think Houston is right behind Dallas, but they're right up there. We've seen rents close to double in the last 5 to 6 years. And it's just crazy. It is crazy. Issues. Someone said there's an app called 5 Calls where you can find representative contact information, current issues. I have not heard of that, Emily. Someone asked, do we call today or tomorrow?
Today. Yeah, call today. Definitely today.
Someone asked, Nancy asked, why are they opposed to free money?
That's because a lot of different service areas are competing for the same ARPA dollars right now. Right now, the ARPA funds are allocated to having retirement benefits for teachers and for state employees, which is also important. But there's still money on the table that they're not even allocating at all. So I think it's just like ignorance on the part of the staffers. Like Marty said, sometimes they don't even know affordable housing issues. So they might just not know that this is the funding mechanism that's available to them.
Emily was talking again about a 5 app and the 5 calls. I live in Frisco. I only see the top issues of Frisco. How do I find this specific issue in 5 Calls? And I'm not. Are you familiar with 5 Calls?
No, I'm not.
I'm not either. But someone's put in the web link in the chat for you all. You might want to look at that. I've never heard of it before, to be honest with you. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. That's great. A random emergency department owner is nickel and diming her, such as charge visitors $3.50 for 24 hours to park in a visitor spot. Um, this is a landlord basically trying to nickel and dime, basically park, even charging visitors to park in their parking spot on the property. I don't know of any laws that prevent them from charging for parking, but we're seeing, again, it's a capitalistic society. You just see people wherever there's money to be made. Some people are going to go for it, even if it's at the stake of our low-income housing people or low-income residents. But the other issue on the money, doesn't it have? I mean, some of it, like you said, is actually money that's going to be left on the table, right? But
That's right. They didn't even allocate all of the ARPA money, which means that there is money that's just like being left on the table. That's free money. That if there isn't a amendment to the SB 30 bill, then it will just be wasted. It'll just be there.
It basically goes back to Washington, and then what happens is another state grabs it, right? I mean, it goes into another state in the country is good. This is where your money that you're paying in federal taxes in Washington gets distributed to states by population, by how many people live, and most of it is how many people live in the state. I know some of it's on demographics, but most of it's on the demographics of maybe low-income people. But most of it isn't it allocated by the number of residents in the state in most cases, and so this money is coming to Texas because it's Texas's fair share of money that's been distributed across the country based on population. So when we send it back, it's basically allowing people in California or other places to grab that money and use it outside of Texas when you're paying for it. So you're basically, your dollar in taxes that's supposed to come back to Texas we're only getting 70% of it because the people in Austin are sending it back, and 30% of your dollar is going to a different state to help their people, so they're getting $1.30. They're getting more money than they're supposed to, and we're getting less. This happens with Medicaid too. I think in some cases, I think Medicaid is a huge issue with Medicaid because it's the same kind of issue. It's not that it saves you money. It's just that money goes to another state to help their people. So it's really, really important that you get to the point where you understand how these things work, and you advocate for yourselves, your family, and the people that you serve, and our friends in our community that need the help. It's important. But the other thing too is that Dewey made is this money. There's lots of things they can use some of this money on, and they've chosen to use it. They're choosing to use it on a prison and vehicles as opposed to rent for low-income housing, right?
That's right.
And this is at a time where the state's not. It's not like our state's in a tough financial position where we have a shortfall and we're having to make up money. We're at the same time seeing a huge excess to the budget, to our budget each year. So it's just really it's difficult to understand what they're thinking, but this is where you have to speak up. Somebody commented of what an interesting question it was that the person had to the guy from Texas Housers. That question was really kind of a loaded question, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And they were surprised that we had met with the office. And in fact, I heard them say, I don't remember that. So even though we tried our best, they didn't, that one House rep did not remember us meeting with their office, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and many times they're just trying to blow it off, and so they need to hear from more people to put a little bit of heat on them to not just blow these things off. Does the bill provide any funding to help the current homeless population, or is it mainly to help renters prevent homelessness?
Our asks are for renters to prevent homelessness. That's one of the organizations that I would refer you to for people that are already experiencing homelessness is Texas Homeless Network, or THN. They work with Texas Housers. We're partners with them. That's just not our ask right now, but they are asking for dollars from the general budget for their HMIS systems, or systems that they use in shelters across the state to have intake or care of continuum of care. So they're the main organization for this state's continuum of care from HUD. And they are also asking for more money. And they're a great organization. We're actually not competing out of the same funding. They're doing general budget and we're doing the ARPA funds. So we are supporting each other's campaigns for that.
Yeah, and I know that Texas Association of Affordable Housing Providers is also working on their advocacy work. You're going to see all of these organizations in Texas right now are, this is the most important time of their existence is while session, while the legislature's in session and they're working on these issues. And again, please, you need to do your part. Someone said, what about funding for people with IDD and special needs?
Yeah, that's already included right now in the ARPA funds. It's a lot of that is going through nursing homes or inpatient facilities that help people with IDD, and they already have funds allocated to them in SB 30. I only know that because they testified at the hearing. And so there is already some funding going towards that. If that's something that you're passionate about, then your voice is important, and you should reach out to your elected officials about it too.
And the people on the committee, just like Dewey said, yes. Someone said, would the ARPA funds be sent to HUD for helping homeless individuals?
No, the ARPA funds would be set to two main pots. Well, actually, all of it would be through TDHCA, which is the state level government's mechanism for affordable housing. And they also are in charge of the Texas Rent Relief, or TRR. The Texas Rent Relief Program is really important. I'll just explain my own perception of my 2-minute pitch of the Texas Rent Relief Program. And I know this wasn't the question, but before the pandemic hit, as a caseworker, I knew where to refer people to for rent relief. I knew if Catholic Charities had money. I knew if WellMed had money. I knew who had money, CCA or whoever, and I kept track of it. After the pandemic hit, everybody ran out of money quickly, and the only source of rent relief that I could find for months and months and months was the Texas Rent Relief Program. It's closed. It was supposed to open up for 2 weeks. You heard on the testimony that it was only open for 48 hours, and then it was already overcommitted in funds. It was by far the most effective rent relief program I've ever seen. I know people personally that have had their evictions dismissed because of the rent relief program. I know clients professionally that I've gone through the same thing. It is really, really important, and it's through TDHCA, the Texas Department of Community.
To Texas Department of Housing and Community. Texas Department of Housing and Community Development.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what it stands for. It's but it is the state level branch of not HUD. It's different. It's the state level organization that does affordable housing and the Texas Rent Relief Program. So it wouldn't go through HUD.
Thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Somebody correct me. It's community affairs. Yes. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that's it. But yeah, that's my pitch. It would go through TDHCA, and it would replenish the Texas Rent Relief program, as well as give more money for affordable housing developers to bid on the bidding process for affordable housing in Texas.
One of the things, do you know if some of the JP courts? It's my understanding the JP courts got some rent money, that some of it was allocated to the Justice of the Peace courts for rent for homeless prevention. Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not. I'm not aware of that.
I heard that the other day, and I wasn't aware of that before either. And I was wondering, I hadn't had a chance to check that out, but somebody said that they had been given some funding for homeless prevention through the avoiding evictions for people that were coming to the JP courts. But so I think the question was if the money got sent back to the federal government, the money that Texas is not, the money that they're leaving on the table. If it goes back to the federal government, is there a possibility it would go into HUD and be distributed that that route as opposed to going through TDHCA?
I would not count on it. I would definitely not put my eggs in that basket.
I really don't think that would happen. I think it's a different pot of money. And I really think, to be honest with you, what's going to happen is some of the other states are going to grab it for the same kind of funding that we could have used it for, but didn't. And because it has, like you say, it's restricted, and as long as they stay within restrictions, it will be redistributed because it's money that's already been allocated in the federal budget to be spent.
That's right.
Yeah. So let me see what else we've got here. Sorry. Someone asked, is there a shorter version of this emphasizing our money will go to other states? Has a growing support group. I hope will speak up. Much time left to contact. I see. I'm not sure. And I don't know the answer to your question, Peggy. I don't know if there's a information out there or something that would cover that. Attachment relief, public housing will assist if they're in public housing. I think that's about relief homeowners. What about tax relief for homeowners with a housing market and raising? That's a big issue on the governor's agenda for this session is property tax relief for people in Texas, and property tax reform has been big on the. Has that not been? Isn't that a big issue in this session?
Yeah, in fact, that's the reason why we're asking for money from ARPA funds instead of money from the state, because the state money is right now is allocated mostly for property tax relief. Our argument is that that's really important for property tax relief, but it doesn't actually help the 38% of the Texans that are renters. So it's leaving a lot to be desired on the table with property tax relief. So we're actually asking for money from a whole separate pot because we cannot politically compete with property tax relief. It's such a priority for the leadership of the House, Senate, and the governor's office that they're going to pass it, and they do have property tax relief, but rent relief is not a priority for them. So that's why we're asking for ARPA funds.
Yeah, and I think that I've heard that too, that there's still mortgage assistance money available to the state, that pot of money hadn't dried up yet, but someone put in their Texas mortgageassistance.com. Aaron, thanks for putting that in there for people to access if they're needing assistance with people that own their homes and need mortgage assistance. Oh, I just went blank. Sorry, I'm jumping around. Sorry. God. You know, one of the things about the property tax relief is it's across the board, so it's going to help a lot of people. But you know, it doesn't necessarily, as Dewey said, you know, most of our low-income people don't own property, and their landlord is most likely not going to pass on any property tax relief to the renters. They're just going to once again use it as part of their, use it to better their bottom line and make more money. And so it helps a lot of people, but it doesn't help the people that we're speaking with about today. How do people testify in person at a hearing? I guess like the gentleman did today. How do people get on the agenda to testify in those live hearings?
Yeah, great question. The notice for hearings on bills is posted in each committee. In the House, I believe it's 5 days. In the Senate, I believe it's only 2. But it's posted in advance, so you have to go to the actual meeting in Austin and find the room where the actual bill is being heard. Around the Capitol, there are little kiosks for you to sign up for testimony. The best thing to do is to reach out to the author of the bill to see if a staffer of that office can help you if this is your first time going. But they can help you find the kiosks in the Capitol, and you can register. You don't have to be a part of any organization, although it's helpful, but you don't have to be a part of any organization to register. Anybody can testify. And you just signed up to testify at the kiosk. You go to the meeting, and the chair of the committee will actually call you to the front and have you testify when it's time. So anybody can do that. If it's your first time doing it, I really recommend that you reach out to the author of the bill that you want to testify on. It's obviously, especially if you're for the bill. If you're against the bill, I would not do that. You can reach out to me, and I can help you with that. But if you're for the bill, then I would do that. If you have any more questions, then you can always reach out to me, and I can plug you into other community organizers that can help you testify in Austin.
Yeah, if you're against the bill, they might send you to the Starbucks in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Who knows where they're going to send you? That's pretty good. When you met with the representatives, did any of them agree to advocate for renters?
Yes. Mostly no. Yes, we have one really good friendly champion on the committee who is going to offer the amendment that we need. Most of the meetings did not go that well. Most of them did not care when we first showed up, but it was important that we met with him anyway, because Ben got that question, did you try to meet with us? And the answer is yes, we did. I had a bad experience. I had a few bad experiences meeting with staffers that just did seem to not care when I made my pitch. But it's important that I did that anyway, because now at this stage, I can at least say that I tried. Which if I couldn't say that, they wouldn't care what I have to say at all. They would say, well, you didn't reach out to my office to tell me that this was an option. So now the ball's in their court. It's on them because I did do that. So we only had one really good response out of the 5 meetings that I went to. Only one was really good. Other people had other experiences though. So I met with all of the people that are on the committee that represent North Texas. We had people all across the state that came and got East Texas, West Texas, the Rio Valley, and Central Texas. So we hit all of them.
One of the things, there's a couple of things. Number one is it's very important to understand how strong the lobbying is for for the Texas Apartment Association and the lobby that the apartment owners have and the influence they have because they have money. You know, once again, they're making money, so they have money to spend to lobby and advocate for their side. This is why it is incredibly important that we get the people that we serve and the people that need it to go to their representatives' offices, call them. We're not going to be heard, or they're not going to be heard until they come out in force, because they're up against, Goliath. I mean, they really are in regards to the association and the lobbyists that lobby for landlords, and landlords obviously aren't for tenants' rights. They want to be able to do whatever they want to do, and they want to make it as easy as possible for them to deal with tenants. So it's not going to change until we get everybody to speak up, and especially the people that need it. Yes, Peggy, I will get this up. In fact, I've got 3 to get up, but I'll put this one at the top of the agenda because of the issue. I'll get this up on YouTube today, and I should be able to get up today or early in the morning, but I'll get it up as quick as I can and load it to YouTube. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you should find it. Just so you know, that the link to our YouTube channel is at the bottom of the emails I send out. You'll see the link to our YouTube channel, and all of everything we do is pretty much on there, all the recorded stuff that we have. Natasha, I see you raising your hand. We're not calling on people. If you could put whatever you have to say or your question in the comment or the Q&A. I mean, it's just hard when we have 80 people on the call to be calling and managing that the mics if people raise their hands. So I didn't give Natasha just a second if she wants to say something, but okay. I think that's it, Dewey. I think that incredible in presentation. I learned a bunch. I really did, and I am very grateful for you doing this. It was really, very, really, very, very good information and very helpful. Did you have anything you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I just want to thank everybody for your interest in your advocacy. It's really important work, and thank you, Marty, for having me on. It's really fun to do this, and I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Incredible information, incredible knowledge, and you did really just a great job. Thank you so much. You all have a wonderful day, and thank you all for joining us.